Oseo.
Oseo.
Wow, we had a great Cherokee greeting there. Wave the great feather for the good of it. Here we are still in autumn, following some episodes we did previous Sundays of Sappho, the lyric poet of ancient Greece. They kind of keep going along that way. I'll kind of have this theme in some segments today. The first one we're going to say is right here for the autumn. The statue that I have here, I call Euterpe. She is autumn. Autumn, this is amazing, is an Etruscan word that has survived. Etruscan is not connected or related to any known language, and the word autumn comes from it. I think that is really wonderful. So we call her the goddess of autumn there. And the dress that she is wearing, well, I could say it's Etruscan. The Etruscans are the indigenous people of ancient Italy. And we would say her dress there is Roman. This differs from the Greek chiton. So that is her. And along with that, here is the Sphinx. This is the autumn female Sphinx. The pre-zodiac world of ancient Greece was sort of divided between, the two halves of the equinox, the male Sphinx and the female Sphinx. So the autumn is the female Sphinx. Also, in pre-zodiac, it will turn into the sign of Libra. So we have some Libras here also. So she's also the sign of Libra. And the Sphinx is the daughter of the Chimera. And the Chimera is the daughter of the Hydra. We'll be speaking of the Hydra later. And so we have musical people here today. So we can come up here and look at this piece up here. This is a really interesting piece. To say who it is, it's Euterpe. Euterpe is the muse of music. And where this piece comes from, she comes from the first island in the Aegean. Like you see the Aegean Sea, like a finger, at the very tip of the finger is the first island, Thasos. And it is just right off the coast of the country of Thrace. And Thrace were considered the most musical people in the world. So Euterpe, here she's actually playing a double flute, the alloy, and she was on marble. That island was really favored for having the best quality marble. And this piece here is a casting from that marble piece, which has since then been in the museum in Rome. So I recognized this piece, and I think it's really amazing that I would have a casting from some place so far away. Well, anyway, her symbol is the flute. So like that. And along with that, what goes with it, here, this picture here is a picture that Claudia was able to get. This is of a lyre. And I'm going to read the little legend that goes along with it. She was named Euterpe because she gives to those who hear her sing delight. And that was by Diodorus Siculus in the 1st century BCE. His picture here, is a replica of the Chile's lyre, named after Euterpe, the muse presiding over music and lyric poetry. She is called Giver of Delight by the ancient poets. Euterpe was born of one of the daughters of an infamy of memory, and she was fathered by Zeus, and along with her sisters, they are also referred as the water nymphs. They have been born from the 4 springs in Helicon. And according to the ancient Greek mythology, musicians would invoke the aid of the muse Euterpe to inspire, guide, and assist them in their compositions. So y'all can take note of that. The name Chiles means this has been made somehow with horns, like a goat or some animal, and it's the points. It's like the pincher points that has the name, the Chiles, for that. of other things that I'm going to have here in this is going to be referring to the piece that I'm going to read. This is from a book I have been presenting before, Notes on Thoughts and Visions by H.D. H.D. is Hilda Doolittle, and she also has the one that Claudia had done some readings from, and I have done readings of Sappho, the wise Sappho. And I really think that H.D. has somehow really been engendered somehow by the spirit, whatever spirit engendered Sappho inspires H.D. as well. She was the age of my grandmother from 1880 to 1971. Also, that's the age of Ezra Pound, who first published her in 1913. And this book is just so rich and so little here. So to be able to just read this, these are not poems and they're not compositions or anything like that. These are notes like from a journal. That's what's amazing. So, you know, there are little pieces here and there and pieces here and here. And I'm reading some of these pieces in order to give the concept of what I'm presenting. Praise every god of Greek or Hebrew. They are gone. A crowd of the usual slum vandals. And there is one young man who is laughing. A princely stranger and a poet. I would make him some gift if his brow were more lordly than Hermes. I would bind the stem of the crocus to the stem of the wild hyacinth, that each might show less lovely about your brow, O Hermes. Egypt, in the terms of world consciousness, is the act of love. Hellas is a child born. The secret of the Sphinx is the secret of knowledge. The secret of the centaur is the secret of feeling. The Sphinx knows everything. The centaur feels everything. Spirits of a higher world have access into the lower world. Athena might appear to one in the next lower world. She may be the companion of a half-god, but she must preserve her dignity, her Olympian character. Athena perfectly did this. It was the reward of the Olympic gods not to directly appear to a mortal, but we have many records of the Nisids, tree and river spirits, sea spirits, and voices of the sea, and centaurs holding friendly intercourse with mortals. We also know that Pan appeared to people who were in pain or trouble, not only in dreams, but visibly at midday. There are two ways of escaping the pain and despair of life, and the rarest, most subtle, dangerous, and ensnaring gift that life can bring us, relationship with another person, love. To accept life, but that is dangerous. It is also dangerous not to accept life. In every man and woman in the world, it is given at some time or another, or in some form another, to make that choice. The world of vision has been symbolized in all ages by various cults in all countries by the serpent. In my personal language or vision, I call this serpent the jellyfish. The jellyfish, the overconscious mind, the overmind. The realization of this overconscious world is the concern of the artist. This world is available to everyone, but the minds of men that differ, however, the mind of the overminds are all alike. These jellyfish, I think, are the seeds cast into the ground. And so like it takes a man and a woman to create another life, so it takes these two forms of seed, one in the head and one in the body, to make a new spiritual birth. I think that is why I see them as jellyfish. Probably we pass through all forms of life, and that is very interesting. But so far I have passed through these two. I am in my spiritual body, a jellyfish and a pearl. We can probably use this pearl like a crystal ball for concentrating and directing images from the world of vision. It is necessary to work, to strive towards understanding of this overmind. But once a man becomes conscious of this jellyfish above his head, this pearl within his skull, this seed cast into the ground, and as we become concretely aware of this pearl, this seed, our center of consciousness shifts. So my concern is with the jellyfish over my head. So that's really, really amazing like that. You wouldn't guess, who the jellyfish is in the Greek mythology, the Hydra. The Hydra is the jellyfish. It appears specifically in one of the labors of Hercules, who battles with the Hydra. And every time he cuts off a tentacle or something, another one grows, and so forth. So the jellyfish of HD is none other than the Greek Hydra here. And so I made this, in my way of translating that, here, this image here, or shield cover I call it, is the jellyfish, the Hydra here. And what I'm relating with this is Athena. Always, any images of Athena always has a helmet on her head or over her head. Here is this figure. This is a little stone figure of Athena. This is from Athens. I got it from a woman, and her name is in Greek letters below it. And she's wearing a style helmet the way that I styled it here on my illustration is her style of helmet. And along with her, these are both hand carved out of stone. This owl, the owl of Athena, which is also the emblem of Athens, the owl is actually the Gorgon. She wears the Gorgon on her breastplate here. So the owl of Athena is also the Gorgon here. And so up here, the various helmets that Athena will have, some of them are huge, sitting on top of her head. So that's what I conjecture. I conjecture who that HD is also talking about is the helmet of Athena. People in Southwest America, the Hopi are definitely Egyptians from the Delta, and many of the features they have brought over with them. And one of them is the helmet. The helmet is actually featured as the crow woman on a turtle shell. So here, this is Athena with the helmet that I am putting together, with that. Since she also mentioned Hermes, this is a vase portrait of Hermes. This Hermes is bearded. Now Hermes, we have an evolution going on here. We have a much earlier period, like the Sphinx and the equinoxes. So we have a bearded Hermes here, and he is then succeeded by a later Hermes. And this later Hermes gave Apollo the lyre. So we still have the lyre. The lyre that is in the constellation in the sky does not come from Hermes. That comes from Orpheus. And Orpheus is the master poet, musician, every bug's spoon to to Orpheus's music. So the lyre that is the constellation is the lyre of Orpheus. So we can kind of look at this antique here like that. So this is Hermes, but it's also the early Hermes. And I put this up here while wine definitely in Greece takes center stage. This one is featuring actually spruce beer. And the spruce beer is made from different ingredients and ivy and a fermented honey called mead. And here what we have is these are satyrs. Satyrs, these are goat men. And goat men, the name for goat is also tragos. And so tragos is also the name for wheatgrass that is featured in this brew. So that's very interesting that I found this illustration of them pouring some ingredients from this cauldron. The cauldron, there's a couple of meanings. One of them is sound. It also has something to do with sound, and since we're in a kind of a musical vein, we might even think that the cauldron itself is musical. And so these are satyrs or goat men, tragos, for all of that. And back down here to Hermes, Mercury is a Roman name for Hermes. But we do have the original Hermes. If you can make out this piece here, this is very old, somewhere over 2,000 years. There was, quite, we could say industrious craft in making offerings for the shrines and sanctuaries. And this one is really amazing that I found. This is Hermes, and he's like, messenger of the gods and all kinds of things. He's really an amazing character here. And it had one time originally been silver. I don't know how silver plated, and I did with a magnifying glass, did find spots of silver so that I know that it is authentic there. And if we come over here to this vase here, this is very interesting. I found it very recently, actually in the swap meet. I recognized it. It is an amazing piece. Now there was a long period of dark ages in Greece. I would say all of Europe, all the Mediterranean was in a dark ages for some hundreds of years. And then almost suddenly in the 8th century, in 700, something changed. It all changed. And also Homer did his Iliad. Incidentally, just the other day, a new publication of the Iliad has been translated by Emily Wilson. I perused it. It's really amazing. It's really, the book was too expensive for the moment. But just to say, coincidentally, this was reviewed on KPBS. And the age that this kind of vase would be coexisting with the 8th century. It's called geometric. The style of painting is geometric. This is really amazing. This is painted not on pottery, but it's painted on a copper vase. So it's deliberately directing itself back to the Bronze Age, the very, very early time preceding the 8th century here. But what is really interesting here is attached to it is the head of a ram. It's the head of a ram. Now the ram could be Aries, of course, here I have different kind of thing, but how I know who it is Ammon. Ammon is the ram head, and what says so is that the oracle of Ammon is in North Africa. It's actually the eastern Libyan desert. It's now called Siwa, that area, but it was once Ammonia, and that was the oracle. And that oracle would seem to have been something like the Pator, the patron of the zodiac here. And how I could tell that is because circling behind on each side, all the way around, is a procession of female figures in various gestures of adoration. So that does go back to that time when this method of this oracle was a procession in which priests, carried something like a gold boat, and they just followed the whim of the spirit, and whatever way that they went, and it was followed by this train of women, chanting and doing adorations here, and somehow that had an oracular interpretation. All of Greece is astrological. The culture, the religion, the legends, the stories, the temples, the gods, goddess, all of it is astrology. Totally. It's even recently been realized by deliteralizing the Christian Bible and retranslating it back into the astrology. Then it's seen that what we're referring to there, the Bible also is astrological here. So all of this, all goes together. The way that this was proliferated throughout the world, throughout the Mediterranean world, was the paintings on pottery and these temples. This was also when they began making stone temples, and that these temples have statues in them and they have carvings around the top of the astrology. They're all alignment of astrology. So that was the way. One example would be Aphrodite. Her name is usually rendered born from the foam, but the etymology, in other words, you say foam is whitish and transparent, is also the Hydra. So her name is also star, so she could also be not only Aphrodite born from the foam of the sea, but also Aphrodite as the star of the Hydra. So I find that really, really remarkable how all that goes. Well, I should mention here is my drawing of a centaur here. Since you heard in HD, the centaur is, all about feeling. So there are a lot of centaurs, but this is my centaur. Here he's holding a branch here, so that we can have all of these kind of things. But to just get across that all of that we have learned of Greek history, myths, and all this is all astrological. It's really amazing. And this began in the 8th century. That's the time of Homer. And until the last part of the 19th century, these worlds that Homer wrote about were just thought to be his imagination. It wasn't until the late half of the 19th century that began with Schlamen, with Mycenae, and Evans with Minoa, that these worlds were known to actually have existed. That Homer wrote about, a few hundred years after their time, by some remarkable facet of recovery and imagination. So the Homeric hymns to Hermes, it's all there, and it can all be recovered, through the astrology, because the alignments are still all there, and it's spread, throughout the Mediterranean. Even Plato in his book of the Laws, definitely recommends, do not, doubt, the convictions of the oracles of Delphi, Dodona, and Ammon. He said the oracles of Ammon have given us the right information, the right cues. And one of those cues is also colonization. The oracles would also direct Greek people where to colonize. They have different ways of saying that. So the Greeks also colonized southern Italy and so forth. Thinking of the Hydra again with Aphrodite, there's an island that is directly south of the Peloponnese. It's in a direct north-south line of Delphi, because right down to here, Cytherea. Cytherea is the head of the Hydra on Earth. Everything on Earth in the ancient world was the mirror of the stars in the sky, stars and planets. So putting together Aphrodite with the Hydra and her birthplace, Cythera, like that, and So that's in Cancer, and part of her body would be in Leo here. Just give you an idea of how all these things work. So I showed a amphora a few weeks ago from Rhodes, and circling it, it had one picture of Athena in the front, and then it was circling with warriors, with shields. All of these are zodiac or planets in their various movements and conflicts. Again, the zodiac sort of arose also in the 8th century. And all the different places have their own centers. There was even a city that, in reflection of the constellation of Lyra, made the city itself in the shape of the Lyra. It probably had a harpist over there. So I keep waving the feather. Just to get the idea of the wonder of the ancient world and to recover that. Because everything of our world and everything of our lives is still all of that. These gods and goddess were not worshipped the way modern people think of it. In India, Hinduism comes mostly after all this period in the Mediterranean. There you have a saturation of divinities. You have a proliferation of images of gods and goddesses like that. These are considered to be actual embodiments of divinity. That's not what they are in Greece. These figures in Greece are immortal humans. Basically, that's who they are. They're humans who are immortal, like that. They're not worshipped like they are in India there. So to get all those ideas out of the way, astrology. We have an astrologer here, and it's typical of people who consider themselves fundamentalist Christians to discount astrology. And Jim told one such person, it's all right, it works anyway. Right? It works even if you don't. So, but all this I'm really presenting the wonder of that. And to sort of finish with that, we're going to have a special thing here. Here's my drawing. I made this drawing along with this statue of a woman for Hypatia. The thing about Hypatia, she is, a Greek scientist, of the time. The advent of what's being called Christianity, that first seemed to bubble up its head in Syria, like that, comes from a different class of people. Best I can do it, and their assault on Hypatia kind of begins what becomes, the end of all of the science of the ancient world, really, there. And starts, something else. All the oracles were closed. The sports of Olympia was stopped. All of the plays, the dramas were stopped. Everything was stopped. You only had one choice, only one church, only one leader. So this is for Hypatia, and down here, Claudia always has this up over her desk, a drawing of Hypatia here. So Claudia has done, an interesting study of Hypatia, and I think we're going to have a wonderful treat. Claudia is going to read her poem of Hypatia to the accompaniment of Kathleen Hartshorn on the harp, and Eric is going to do the filming of this. So Claudia can come up here.
Yeah. A charm for Hypatia of Alexandria, 4th century. Through you, noble Hypatia, our spirit forces merge. Poets called you Queen of Heaven, of highest speech, spotless flower. Your womanly courage, eloquence, your learned life, all on the verge, free to reclaim, resurrect in me your spirit from that murderous hour. One day you wore a laurel crown, Athens placed upon your head. The next were dragged into a church by Egyptian monks to kiss the cross. Refusing, with shell knives were stripped of cloth, of skin, until you bled. The sapling cut, tortured and burned, your freedom feared, your brave soul lost. I ask to tend your departed life, wash and dress your memory well, anoint you with love, clothe you in song, hang floral wreaths of every hue. Cradling your head between my palms, a powerful charm I cast and spell to honor, enlightened tolerance, hallowed martyr, I give my word to you. From your pagan ashes, the golden tones, a sweet voice fills the air. This psalm restores your memory's limbs. It is daybreak everywhere. And following that, I'm reciting another poem by myself that's dedicated to Sappho, having expressed her poems in the last couple of weeks. It's called Pure Seduction to Sappho. The O-O-O's in Kodo music make these vibrant strings sing. They pluck my harp of stone, divining it a pair of wings. I tremble with its undertones, my rising waters humming. Draw up unnatural sounds that love-making can only dream of. Without these flawless fingerings, without these waves of unearthly chords that mount from an underground current, then flood my shuddering shore. Thank you.
Good text of that one.